Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with me. I do appreciate my time every week here at this Outdoor Magazine radio microphone, and I would not be able to do it without your support. So thank you so very, very much. Happy Easter weekend to you. I hope you have some nice plans this weekend. I hope your plans involve getting outdoors for one thing, but I also hope your plans involve maybe getting together with some friends and some family. More on my thoughts on this blessed Easter holiday coming up at the end of this segment here. Our weather roller coaster continues, doesn't it? It's been crazy, although we knew that when we had such a mild winter, and we knew that we had 70-degree temperatures in February, that Mother Nature was going to make us pay for it, and she has been. The forecast, as I look at it now, calls for a little more seasonal weather, seasonal, reasonable weather coming up. But it's been interesting, hasn't it? It certainly has been interesting. And I made a trip yesterday. I had to go downstate for some appointments. And it struck me that the conditions downstate in southeast Michigan were considerably different than my home in mid-Michigan, and definitely different than the folks in the UP, right? When I left my house in mid-Michigan, it felt like a dreary, cold, windy, rainy March day. I got downstate, though, and it felt more like spring. The grass was greener. No, the grass was greener on the other side. No, the grass was greener. I saw flowers in people's yards. The trees were definitely budded out more, which explains why my sinuses got all plugged up. And it felt at least a good week, a week and a half ahead of where I live in mid-Michigan, central Michigan. And then I got a picture from my buddy Johnny Bowler up in UP, up in the Newberry, Seney area, and he was out plowing snow. So I find it interesting and cool that our state is so diverse in so many ways. I mean, you think about our state. It's almost like 2, maybe 3 different worlds. And the folks in the UP say, make us a different state. Make us the state of Superior. I get that. But geographically, we have such a diverse state. I mean, you can have one set of weather conditions in Copper Harbor and a completely different world down in Wayne County. Weather-wise, geography, culturally. But that's part of what makes our state so very cool. So much going on. And if you want to make a little bit of a drive, you can probably find something that's going to make you happy. You know, if you're looking for an urban walleye fishery in the springtime with a lot of people around you, a world-class fishery, you can head south to the Detroit River. If you want to get away from everything and everybody, head north up to the UP. It's a pretty cool state. I've had the opportunity, when I had the TV show primarily, to spend a lot of time traveling this country, North America, and even beyond. And it's been pretty cool to be able to, hunt in Africa, to hunt in Alaska, to fish in Alaska, all across this country, all across Canada. And I've enjoyed every one of those adventures. But every time, I couldn't wait to get back home to Michigan. Is our state perfect? Of course not. But there's nowhere else that I'd rather live. Now, as I get older, I don't enjoy the winter as much as I used to. But if we're going to continue to have winters like we have been, I think I can put up with it. And it is nice to get away, sometimes in the wintertime, to head south to Florida or whatever. But for my home base, for where I want to live, for where we raised our family, for where we made our business chops, here in Michigan, because I think we have the best state out there. We don't have mountains, we don't have salt water, but we do have big hills, right? We've got a lot here, and I love it. And I am unapologetic for being a Michigan fanboy. I love this state. You will need to renew your fishing license here very soon if you're going to be heading out fishing, right? I've had this conversation before about how I think the price of our licenses is a very, very good deal. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I said, I don't even want to pay the senior citizen discount because I think it's worth more than that. And then I put my foot in my mouth, as I often do, and said, in fact, I don't want any kind of a senior discount. Man, did I have some people come unglued on me. We are senior citizens. We have earned these discounts. We have worked hard and paid taxes all of our lives, yada, yada, yada. And Avery, I'm never going to listen to you again if that's what you think. Well, that is what I think. And if you choose not to listen to me because I make a stupid statement like that, fine. And I'm not speaking for you. I'm just speaking for me. I think our hunting and fishing license fees are a very, very good deal. Well, I know, but I've got 8 kids and I have to buy them all licenses. Well, you decided to have those 8 kids. You knew it was going to be expensive. And those kids don't need a license until they're 17 anyway. I just sent a text out to my grandkids before I walked in the studio. And my grandkids are getting older now, but I'm blessed that they're all in the area and they still like to hang around with us sometimes. So I said, let's go see the new Ghostbuster movie this weekend, because that's one of the things we like to do is go see movies as a group. I don't even want to think of how much that's going to cost me to take all those guys to a movie and popcorn and probably out to dinner afterwards. I'm more than happy to do it. I'm eager to do it. But the price for one afternoon of fun, one afternoon of enjoyment is going to be many times a multiplier, many times more expensive than getting a fishing license, even if I didn't get the senior license. For $26, you can fish all species in every water every day of the year. $26. How can you gripe about that? You really, if you're a thinking person, you really can't. And if you think that's too expensive, well, then cut something else out. If you are committed to the lifestyle, if you are committed to enjoying the resource, you find a way to make it happen. Maybe you cut back on something else. I tried an experiment this past week. If you've been a long-time listener, you know that I have a hate-hate relationship with geese. We have a pond behind our house, and I love seeing the geese out there on the pond. I love them. But don't come up into my yard and make a mess. I think geese are just giant flying rats. That's the way I look at them these days. Can't hunt them because we're in the city, just in the city, and it's not season on them anyway. Every year I put up this goose fence, which is a 3-foot-high green snow fence, and it works very well. But it's kind of a pain to put it up every spring, and kind of a pain to take it down every fall. And the geese are stupid, right? They can fly over that, but they won't. So we're trying something different this year. I got myself a coyote decoy, and I put that in the backyard. Now, you might say, well, yeah, eventually those geese are going to realize that decoy's not moving. But if they're not smart enough to not fly over a fence, maybe they'll be stupid enough to not realize that's not a real thing. So we're going to see how that works. I will keep you posted on that. What else? We had a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack here. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since then. It was just a great, great event. It was, we sold it out. The Lumberjack is a beautiful facility. The food was great. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar was our guest chef, and it was absolutely wonderful. We will take a little bit of a break from our Wednesday night lives. We won't do one now until the fall. We do have a big golf outing coming up in West Branch, Monday, July 29th, I think it is. More details on that as we get closer. All right, before we wrap up this segment, let me just talk a little bit about Easter. Easter, to me, is the most important event in history because it makes everything else possible. The world is a wonderful place. I just told you how much I love Michigan and how much I enjoy our state. This is a great world to be a part of. But it can also sometimes be a little bit rough, a little bit hard. In my life, I cannot get through this life without some help from something else. For me, that help comes from God. I'm a man of faith. I admit that. I embrace that. I don't shirk away from that at all. And that faith comes from Easter. An empty tomb, a Savior that died and then came back to life so that we can all be saved. If that makes you uncomfortable to hear that, okay, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to back away from that. So my wish for you this Easter weekend, look, I know we need Easter eggs and chocolate bunnies and all that stuff for the kids, but Easter is about resurrection, an empty tomb, a Savior. I hope you can embrace that, and I hope you have a wonderful, blessed Easter weekend with your friends and with your family. And maybe go to church too, right? And maybe enjoy a Michigan brand ham for Easter. That's what we'll be doing too. Coming up after the break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show, Captain Mark Pieniozek of Real Fishn right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Alpena on WZTK 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Tawas, WIOS 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Matt Smith Outdoors. Matt Smith is a friend of mine, longtime friend of mine, really good guy. He's an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. I posted a video from Matt here last week about some property management as well, and I talked to him, I think we're going to have him on the show next week to talk about how you can do this. You know, a lot of people want vacation homes, they want hunting property, they want, how do you do it? Well, Matt's going to have some tips for us. And you can check him out online at Matt Smith Outdoors. He's on Facebook and Instagram. Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. And by the way, if you're looking for a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there help you out there as well. Again, it's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. I was telling you a few weeks ago that I spent a very enjoyable, very warm day, unseasonably warm day, on the water of Saginaw Bay and the Saginaw River with Captain Mark Pieniozek of Real Fishn. I find Mark to be a fascinating guy. I mean, he spent his entire life out there on that water. He grew up on the shore. He's watched the fishery develop. He's a hardcore angler. This time of year, you're likely to find him down on the Detroit River or Lake Erie. So I thought it was a good time to bring him on the show to talk more about that. Hey, Cap, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Bad connection. Cap, you there? Try calling him back, John. I don't think he's on the water. He told me that he was taking a little bit of a break, so hopefully we can get in touch with him. Cell phones are a wonderful tool. They allow us to talk to people when they're on the water. They allow us to, not have to bring people into the studio to do our conversations, to do our interviews. But I've also been burned by them so many times. So hopefully we can get a better connection here with Cap. Jonathan Dent is in here. He's looking at him.
Mark, it's Jonathan again. Sounds like we lost you for a second.
All right, let's try it again. All right, Cap, you there?
I am.
Excellent. I was getting nervous there for a second. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mike.
You are you're actually between trips right now, right? Just taking a little breather as you get ready to kick the season off in general, or in earnest?
I actually am. So right now I'm getting the boat ready to go to Detroit, the oil, lower unit, all that fun stuff, and then switching over from trolling because I was down on Lake Erie for the last 2 weeks and switching it over to jigging for the Detroit River.
Mark, I don't know where you're at. Can you move or something? Are you in an area with a good cell where if you move a few feet, you can help us out? Because right now it's borderline not even usable on the air. Can you try something for us?
Can you hear it?
No, not better.
Yeah.
Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
That's better.
Maybe.
Is it getting any better?
It's getting better. Don't move. Right there is perfect.
All right.
There we go.
All right.
So I heard you say that you're getting ready to switch over to a jig bite down on the Detroit River. Is that what I heard?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm doing right now. Switching the boat over from fishing from Lake Erie to jigging for the Detroit River.
I saw some pictures of your Lake Erie trips. Man, what a fishery that is.
Mike, so what's hard for me is I grew up on the Saginaw Bay, obviously, my whole life, and we have a great fishery right here in our backyard. But Lake Erie is just a different creature. We were throwing back 50 fish a trip. I mean, we caught our limit, and we're throwing back 50 fish between 6 and 9 pounds. It is unbelievable.
Oh, my gosh. I honestly have never experienced something like that firsthand, and I'm not even sure I can comprehend that.
My customers really had a hard time with it, I'll be honest with you, after they caught their limit. They're throwing back 6 to 9 pound fish. I mean, not just a couple, but 40 to 50 every trip. I mean, it's a phenomenal fishery.
Can anybody go down there and do that, or do you happen to have it just dialed in just perfectly?
No, I think if you spend a few days there, you can get them dialed in pretty good. I have a pretty good network down there. Pretty much everywhere I go, I have a good network and work with other captains, and we share information, and that's what makes everyone successful. If you can share information, someone gets on the hot bite, we share the information, and everybody gets fish. That's what it's about. You
and I talked about that when we were on the water that day. It's important to have people out there because you are one boat on a big body of water. Conditions change, fish move. So, but I think it's also important, not just for charter captains, but for recreational people. Anglers, have some friends out there that you talk to and share information. It's going to save you a lot of time.
No, I agree with you, Mike. Actually, that's one of the things I talk about in my seminars is network. Have a network. And they don't always have to be all charter captains, just buddies, whoever you have. And they can put you on fish or get you at least close to fish. And networking to me is I can't even put it. There's no price tag you can put on it.
Before we talk about the Detroit River fishery, let's stay on Lake Erie. Will that bite continue for a while here now? Is that going to be good for weeks yet?
Yeah, through the month of April, it'll be phenomenal. A lot of fish, a lot of big fish, because they're all coming from the eastern basin to the western basin over to spawn. So, and then they come up the Detroit River too. So that fishery will be good for the next month, solid.
You've got a lot of reef spawners on Lake Erie, don't you?
Yeah, that's the biggest difference in why there's so many fish on Lake Erie, and the fish are bigger is because we have a lot more reefs down there. There's the islands down there. There's a lot more things going on Lake Erie than what we have on the Saginaw Bay. So
where do you start?
There's a lot of good places, even in Michigan, out of Monroe. I'd go out of Monroe, and there's a lot of places right there in 20, 25 feet of water or less. You can stay pretty close to shore and get on some just beautiful fish. But I usually go out of Catawba Island, which is down towards Cedar Point. That's usually where I go because the bigger fish are just working their way to the west.
And what's the program?
We run bandits just like we do here. Same program. You're running like 1-3, 1-4. Same color patterns work that work on the Saginaw Bay, work on Lake Erie. The depths are sometimes a little different. You might want to have to run a little deeper sometimes, but pretty much the same program that I run on the Saginaw Bay is the same program I run on Lake Erie.
I bet you don't have to worry about tattle flags when you got fish that size.
No, Mike. Sometimes half the time they're underwater. They pull the boards right underwater. There's no doubt when you have a fish on, because your board usually goes underwater, and you look up and there's a board missing. So it's pretty easy to tell.
Wow. Well, if the fishing is so good there and it's going to continue to be good, Mark, why leave it? Why head for the river?
So both these places are destination places, right? The Detroit River and Lake Erie are both destination places. I really enjoy the jig bite myself personally, and I get customers from all over the country. My customers are not just local. They're from all over the country. I get people that fly in from Texas, the Dakotas, California, Florida, all over the place to come to the Detroit River because they've known about the Detroit River their whole lives, and it's just a phenomenal fishery to be able to fish that thing and to be able to feel the jig bite, that whole thing. So that's why I go to the Detroit River. For that reason, I usually head to Erie for about 2 to 3 weeks and then switch over to the Detroit River.
What about the quality of fish in the river and Lake Erie this time of year? Are they about the same?
Yeah, pretty close. There's probably there's some smaller fish on the river. There's a lot of males in the river. It's just like the Saginaw River. We get our run of males, at the start, a lot of small fish at the start, and then we start getting the bigger females coming in. And it's kind of the same way on the Detroit River. And we usually get about 3-4 different pushes of big females that come into the Detroit River. So they don't all come in at once. They come in at different times throughout April. So it's kind of staggers the fish out. And, I mean, that in itself is a tremendous fishery, too. When you can go catch 30, 40 fish every day jigging, it's pretty tough to beat.
Now, you mentioned the Saginaw River. It's open year-round now. You could be fishing that. It's a lot closer to home for you. Why not concentrate on the Saginaw?
The Saginaw River, to me, is really hit or miss, and a lot of guys found that out last year when they first opened it up because a lot of guys stayed here. They did not go down the Detroit River. My personal issue with it is I have a really good clientele. I usually run 80 trips on the Detroit River when I'm down there for 45 days, and I know that clientele is not going to follow me to the Saginaw River because it doesn't have the history, because it hasn't been open long enough, right? So it doesn't have the history of big catches, big fish, and the amount of fish. So for me to give up 80 clients to come up here to test the waters on the Saginaw River is just not smart business for me.
Yeah, let somebody else do that.
Yeah, let them be the guinea pigs. That's how I look at it.
But there's so much more water in the Detroit River. That's what I find kind of intimidating. It's deeper. There's much more current. For a guy who only goes down there occasionally, again, I'll use the word intimidating.
No, and I agree with you because it's not a river that it's huge. I mean, there's areas where the river's 1.5 miles, 2 miles wide, and that current's kicking 1.5 to 1.8 miles an hour. It's 26 miles long. There's a lot of stuff happening, and that's where the networking, coming back to what we talked about earlier, networking is huge. I network with Lance Valentine, who's down in Wyandotte, and a couple other guys, and then I have a bunch of guys up at Sinbad's with myself. So we communicate back and forth by text or phone calls to try to figure out where the fish are and get on them. But, yeah, so it can be very intimidating and tough to run a boat in that kind of current and wind.
So how far would you run in a day? I mean, where do you say you're based out of, Sinbad? So how far would you run if there's a good bite 10 miles away? Would you make that run?
Oh, yes. Yep, 10 miles is not that big of a deal, especially when you got a boat that's going 55 miles an hour. It doesn't take that long to get there. So I try to take advantage of whatever bite. I'm not the captain that's going to worry about burning a few dollars worth of fuel, and I don't worry about that stuff. If there's a bite, my whole thing is I want to get my people on the bite, and the same thing on the Saginaw Bay. If I have to run over to the slot and Seaboing and run 15 miles one way, I'll run 15 miles one way. You have to do what you have to do to get your customers on fish, and that's probably why I have the following that I do and the clientele that I do.
We're talking with Captain Mark Pieniozek of Real Fishing, realfishingllc.com. That's realfishingllc.com. It's Pieniozek, just like Smith, only with more letters. That's what Mark always tells me. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation with the Cap. I want to talk more about this Detroit River fishery. It is a unique resource. If you like walleye fishing at all, it's worth the trip. It's certainly worth the trip. Then Then we'll wrap up the hour talking with Bill Hahn of Jay Sporting Goods, announcing a very, very cool discount program for that Wraith 270 see-through ground blind that I love so much. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM 95.3 FM. And north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and he can help you become a licensed charter captain as well. Check out the website pmtcaptains.com for more info. That's pmtcaptains.com. John has classes across the state, and I'm sure you can find one that'll fit into your schedule. You know, you've been thinking about it for a long time. You want to become a licensed captain for either fishing charters or cruises or sightseeing or dive boats, whatever. PMTcaptains.com is your source. Right now, talking with a licensed charter captain. His name is Captain Mark Pieniozek of Real Fishn, RealFishnLLC.com. Mark, did you ever dream, as you were a kid growing up on the shore of Saginaw Bay, that you would someday make a living enjoying some of the best walleye fishing in the world?
Not at all. It was not even a thought to me. Basically, it happened when I got older, and my wife actually talked me into it because I love to fish and hunt. That's how I got into it.
And she wanted to get you out of the house.
I think so. I actually tell my clients all the time. I said my wife prefers I fish 8 days a week. So it's a little bit of a joke, but yeah, I mean, I just absolutely love every day of it, Mike. I've been very, very fortunate in this business. I'm not gonna blow smoke up anybody, but I just absolutely love being outdoors, and I love showing people what we have in our state.
Well, and you have been so very generous in supporting a lot of the things I've been involved in, including our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. You've donated some trips there. And one of the things you were telling me about that is this spring on the river, the Detroit River, there's a contest or something going on, a boat giveaway. Yeah. What's that all about?
Yeah, so there's a big fish contest every week. They're giving away a bunch of prizes for big fish every week, and then the grand prize is a boat. Whoever gets the biggest fish in the month-long tournament wins a boat. So it's pretty slick. I had to pay a pretty hefty entry fee to get into it, but everyone that fishes on my boat is involved, and it doesn't cost them any money. So if someone happens to latch onto a big walleye, they've got a great chance of winning a boat or any other of the prizes that they have. So it's actually pretty fun. We'll be able to run to some different spots and look for big fish if that's what the customer wants. If they just want to grab eaters, we can look for eaters, whatever they want. That's what we're doing.
When you say big fish on the Detroit River this time of year, what are you talking?
We're talking 9 to 12 pounds, somewhere in there.
Wow. When you were on Lake Erie here the last couple of weeks, what was the biggest fish you caught there?
It was 11.3. We caught, Mike, I can't even tell you how many fish we caught between 8 and 10 pounds, but we only got one over the 10-pound mark, that 11.3 one. But I can't even count the fish between 8 and 10 pounds. It was just unbelievable, just phenomenal.
A world-class fishery.
There's no doubt. Not that we don't have it here on the Saginaw Bay, because we can catch big fish here, but not in the numbers you can catch them down there.
When you are jigging the river, you're drifting along with the current, with your bow mount. You're trying to match the speed, keep your line vertical, all that stuff. But let's talk more about subtleties, about nuances, some tips here. What size jigs are you using down there?
So myself, I use a 1-ounce jig for myself. My clients, if they don't fish a lot, I use 1.5 ounce jigs, which is very big. But if you can't feel the bottom, you're not going to catch fish. So all my clients, I usually run 1.5 ounce jigs, so that way they can feel the bottom. And if you can feel the bottom on the Detroit River, you're catching fish. So that's the whole key down there. And I try to, if someone's struggling on my boat, I try to walk back and help them. I use a remote with my controller, with my trolling motor, so I can walk around the boat anywhere and work with people if they're struggling catching fish to try to help them out. So that's my biggest thing that I do. I could care less if I catch a fish. I want my clients to catch them. That's what they're there for.
Stinger hooks, live bait, plastic, what?
All the above. So we usually start out in cold water. Anything under 42, 43 degrees, we're usually running minnows. With a stinger, I run a stinger, and we free float them. We don't hook them to the minnow at all. We have them floating, because when those fish come up to suck in that bait, the lightest thing they're going to get is that stinger. So they usually get the stinger right in the mouth. So that's the whole key to that. Now, they will bite the whole thing too sometimes. And then once the water warms up, then we switch and we don't use minnows anymore. Some of the guys go straight plastic right from the get-go. But for the bigger fish, I really, really like the minnow for the first 2-3 weeks.
And your jigging technique, are you just bounce, bounce, bounce? Do you lift it up higher once in a while? Do you ever fish suspended fish when you're in the river?
I usually never fish suspended fish in the river on the Detroit River, very unlike the Saginaw River, just because of the current. And so we're just bouncing it. It's a short hop for me. It's only like a 6-inch lift and then a 6-inch drop, just very subtle, because it's going so fast. It's not like the Saginaw River where you can lift it up 3 feet and you drop it down, it's going to go right back in the same spot. That current's going so fast down there that if you lift it up 3-4 feet off the bottom, you're going to go right over top of 90% of the fish. So
gotcha.
I like a short lift and drop. That's what I like.
All right, Mark, appreciate your time. We'll let you go. You have trips available this spring. Go to realfishinllc.com, realfishinllc.com to book a trip with Mark Pieniozek on the Detroit River this spring. Bill Hahn of Jay Sporting Goods. Jay Sporting Goods after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Carroll on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on WKNW 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by that sound right there. Did you hear it? Not that sound, but that's the sound of my Rapid River knife opening. You know I love Rapid River Knife. Go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us, rapidriverknifeworks.us, or stop by the showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River. You'll see what I mean. There is a new promo code. It's Avery10, Avery10. If you go to the website, you can order, get 10% off on your order using Avery10. Or if you stop in the showroom, as you check out, say, hey, Avery sent me. I want his promo code, 10% off, rapidriverknifeworks.us. I love working with Michigan-based family-owned companies. I've been doing this for years. This is my sweet spot. You can get Rapid River knives at Jay's Sporting Goods, another Michigan-based family-owned company. Bill Hahn is the buyer for the hunting department for Jay's. He's a good friend of mine, and he's on the Outdoor Magazine phone line with us right now. Hey, Bill, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing very well, thanks.
You and I have kind of this, we love putting things together where partners can work with partners, right?
Absolutely.
And one of our mutual partners is Primal Outdoors. Bob Ransom, the guy who started Ameristep, is now at the head of Primal. They've come up with some great products, including the Wraith 270 see-through ground blind that I love. I've used for turkeys and bear and deer. I think it's the best blind out there. And now, Bill, you guys at Jay's have decided to just about give these things away.
Well, you know, you mentioned our collaboration, and I'm excited that we finally got to get this to work out well. And as we spoke last month, we started kicking the idea around of really doing some unique things. And you kind of pushed my hand a little bit. You forced me to get a little creative here, and I'm glad you did, because we're doing some unique things for the month of April with you and your listeners specifically.
Don't put this on my shoulders, buddy. You agreed to it.
I did. Guilty as charged.
So what's the deal? What's the discount?
Well, you've been talking about this Wraith blind for a number of years, actually. Now I can finally get my hands on some to offer them in our stores and on our website. So since you love it so much and you have such a dedicated listener base, which are also our customers, we decided for the month of April, because I know you love the turkey hunt as I do, we're going to offer to your listeners specifically a special discount on your favorite Wraith blind for $30 off, which normally, I already had a really good price on this blind because I bought them really well and I'm passing that on. But you did some shopping and said, Bill, I want to be able to tell my listeners that we have the best price anywhere. So I had to go back to the drawing board the other day, Mike, as you know. And I said, okay, Avery, you got it. If they say Avery 424 at checkout or they put that in the promo code on the website, I'm going to give that to them for $149.99.
$149.99 on a Wraith. That's the lowest price I've ever seen on them, Bill.
Good. Yes, it is. It's the lowest price I've ever seen.
Good, because you don't want to have to go any lower, do you?
Well, no, because, we got to keep the lights on.
That's right. So just to be clear, if they walk into Jay's at Clare or Gaylord, they can say, I want that Avery code, Avery 424, as they check out. And you can use the same code online at jaysportinggoods.com. Is that correct, Bill?
That is 100% correct. I hope I didn't steal your thunder, but I was so excited to tell you.
No. I'm glad you did. I do want to clarify one thing. You said the month of April. Now, this radio show, will air the last weekend in March. Is the promo code good this weekend? If somebody hears this show on the weekend and say, hey, I want one of those blinds, can they get it now?
As soon as they hear this, they can get it. So, yes, I did start it a little early for you. And this is just for your listeners, by the way. We're not advertising this promo anywhere else.
I appreciate that, Bill.
So when they mention your name with 424, as soon as they hear this on any platform that you're on, it is active.
Wow. I hope you bought a bunch of those blinds because I think you're going to sell a bunch of them.
You know what? I would love to sell them all and go back to Bob and say, Bob, I need more.
We need more Wraiths.
Let's work on something.
Well, I tell you, the reason I love that Wraith is it's the perfect size, it's lightweight, and it's the one-way see-through on 270 degrees. You've still got a black panel behind you to hide you from the critters, but you can see out the sides, you can see out the front. And I just think these see-through ground blinds have just changed the way I look at hunting from a ground blind, Bill.
100%. Bob took what was already out there with some other manufacturers and things they were doing, and I think perfected it with this blind. And in the true fashion and function of a blind is to give you visibility while limiting your game from seeing you, and that's exactly what this thing does. The view that you get is unparalleled, and the fact that you're going to be able to get right where they are without being spotted is just going to up your success level tenfold.
This is perfect timing, just in time for turkey season. The Primal Outdoors, primaloutdoors.com, the Wraith 270 see-through ground blind you can get right now at Jay Sporting Goods, either in Clare or Gaylord, or online at jaysportinggoods.com. You use the promo code Avery424. Avery424. You'll get it for $149.99, the lowest price ever. Bill Hahn of Jay Sporting Goods, I appreciate you working with me, buddy, and I'll look forward to talking again soon.
You too, Mike. Take care, my friend.
All right, Bill Hahn of Jay Sporting Goods, jaysportinggoods.com, jaysportinggoods.com, Clare or Gaylord. Walk in the door, pick up a Wraith, say Avery 424, Avery 424. You get it for less than $150.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I firmly believe, I am absolutely convinced, the best way to listen to this show, if you can, is on your local radio station. Get your local news and weather and sports, maybe, your local commercials. Maybe there's a sale or something going on you want to take advantage of. I love radio. Radio is a great way to communicate, and I would encourage you to listen to the show if you can on your local radio station. If you can't, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours, yes, this is a 3-hour show. Or if you, God forbid, live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal and you can't get the show on your local radio station, isn't it nice to know that there is a podcast version of the show available as a backup? You can hear the podcast on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can hear it on my Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music, Audible, Twitter. What's it called now? X. LinkedIn, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, yada, 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 Odyssey, and YouTube. And if I go out there and poke around, I will find more places that it's available to. I do like podcasting. I mean, my main deal is a broadcaster. I've been a broadcaster for more than 40 years, but I'm fascinated by podcasting because anybody can put a podcast together. So I do some podcasts that don't appear on the radio show. In fact, when we're done here, we're going to record this month's Primal Outdoors podcast. Primal Outdoors, of course, the parent company, the company that makes the Wraith 270 see-through ground blind. This time around on the Primal podcast, I'm going to have Kyle Green of the Greenway Outdoors on the show. I did a podcast with him last week, and we were talking about how important it is to get guys of his generation, because he's a younger guy, to get the younger generation involved in the outdoors, hunting and fishing. And so I'm looking forward to that conversation. Would encourage you to check that out. It will be available at their website, PrimalOutdoors.com. That's PrimalOutdoors.com. Last week, when we were at Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, I was... one of my guests there was a guy named Paul Phillips. Paul is a friend of mine, longtime friend of mine, but he just happens to be one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world. You can't argue that. King of 2 mile, documented shots at more than 4 miles. But he's not just an extreme long-range shooter. He's a hunter. He's a marksman. And recently, he's come up with this idea that he wants to train Michigan hunters to be more proficient with their tool of choice. And we'll talk more about that. But I got Paul here on the Outdoor Magazine phone line, so we'll shoot the breeze about some other things as well. Paul, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. It was wonderful to see you at Wednesday Night Live. And I love the fact when you show up and you bring some of your extreme long-range gear, you create a buzz. People are excited about what you guys are doing these days.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun going up there with you. I always enjoy going up there and had some great walleye at Dixie Dave there, and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that Lumberjack, it's a nice facility. Dave was our special guest chef, and people just really enjoy those events. And I appreciate you making the drive to come up there. And that rig that you had on display, what was that?
That was the 416 Barrett, and we used that to shoot 2 miles and beyond.
What? I used to think, Paul, that if you wanted to shoot extreme long range, everything was a 50 caliber. Is that an obsolete or a not efficient round, or how does that looked at these days?
No, you can still use 50 caliber, but there's a lot of other calibers that have kind of played in the mix since that. Probably since 2015, you've mixed in 375 Chi-Tac, 408 Chi-Tac, 416 Barrett. There's 416 Stroker, 416 Hellfire, 50 caliber. There's a lot of different Wildcat cartridges and stuff. People are trying to find the right combination to have the best ballistics and accuracy for long range.
Is there a right combination, or will you guys continue to tweak these and continue to try to eke a little bit more out of them?
every year someone's coming up with something that no one else has seen before, and a different combination. So it's interesting to see what people come up with, for sure.
How did you guys get to this point? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that 1,000-yard shot was like incredible, and the longest shot anybody could imagine. What was the process, or what was the mindset of saying, okay, we can continue to push this? How did you do that?
In 2015, the King of 2 Mile was created, and they just wanted to see how far they could push the boundaries of a long-range rifle. And I think the foundation, the whole idea was more for the military, to see what kind of rifles and equipment we could put together more for the military, sources. But obviously, a lot of the people that do it are civilians, and they compete, and it just kind of grew to now, we're in like, 10 or 15 different countries, and you have, a lot of people, filling up matches now. So you can go all over the world now, and they have like anywhere from, 30 to 50 in the smaller matches to up to 100 or more in the bigger matches all around the world. So there's a lot of people that it's a growing sport. And I think it's just it's just pretty cool to shoot that far. I mean, I know when we went out with you on Wednesday Night Live and you shot a mile, I mean, it was kind of a neat experience, just something that you haven't never done before.
It was neat for me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I think it's just it's kind of like, in the movies, Chris Kyle or Carlos Hathcock, the movies where they shoot a long ways, the movie Shooter. I mean, I think people are just kind of infatuated with, just that really long shot. And, they're doing it, every time there's a conflict, it seems like you hear like a military sniper making a longer and longer shot. So, the equipment, the technology, it's there. I mean, we have the technology now to, a mile anymore is pretty easy, really. I mean, people do it all over the world. Sometimes they're making cold bore shots, right at a mile. So it's, mile is not safe anymore.
So what goes into this making a shot of a mile or more? There are a lot of different factors, a lot of different components. Got to be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all science, right? So you have, right in the state of Michigan, we have Applied Ballistics, and they do a lot of the laboratory tests where they shoot bullets and they get the data off the radar signatures, and they call them custom drag models, private drag models. They get the profile of the bullet, the ballistic coefficient, and they upload it into these ballistic softwares. And then those softwares, whether it be an iPhone app or a Kestrel or a rangefinder or analytics computer program, there's many different ways to get this. It gives you basically you just get your speed, and then you program it, and then literally my rangefinder that I have now, the SIG 10K, you just find an object, and then you just push the button, and it gives you the distance, and it automatically gives you your elevation. And there's also a wind meter from either a Kestrel or a handheld standalone, and that also gives you your windage. So you have your elevation and windage for whatever the distance is for a target. So it's getting very easy. You don't really have to do any math anymore. You just have to upload the CDM or the PDM for your bullet, and then know the velocity. And that's all you need nowadays. It's getting very easy.
But still, the person behind that gun, the person on the trigger, has to do things right. I mean, when you're looking at a distance like that, there's really no room for error on the shooter's part, is there?
Sure, yeah. I mean, basically, you have to have proper fundamentals, just like when we were kids, learning how to, slow aim on the aim and slow squeeze on the trigger, and have consistency in your fundamentals. And then as long as you have the proper ballistics with your elevation and windage, you should be able to make the shot pretty easy.
Speaking of those fundamentals, though, let's talk about breathing for a real quick second here.
Sure.
Does your breathing sequence matter, or only that you're consistent with that sequence and how you do it?
I think a little bit of both. Obviously, if you're in hunting situation, maybe where you just got done hiking up a mountain, or you see a big buck and you're starting to have buck fever and you're hyperventilating. Those types of things can affect your heartbeat, right? And what you see through the reticle. I think we've all been there where we maybe got a little startled or just got done hiking up a mountain or something and look through the reticle and our heartbeat is all over the place in the reticle. So, controlled breathing and being in a situation where you can set up and have a controlled situation, those are all things that can affect you. But then, there's ways to train to shoot within that heartbeat too. I think the biggest thing is not to overcompensate or try to do too much to fight those things. Just
well, hang on, Paul. I got to take a break, but let's talk more about that training after the break. We're talking with Paul Phillips of Global Precision Group. His website, globalprecisiongroupllc.com, globalprecisiongroupllc.com. After the break, Paul's going to tell us how you can get involved in some hands-on training with him so you can become a better shooter, not necessarily extreme long range, but maybe just a Michigan deer hunter, coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. You can hear us in, let's go to St. Joe, WSJM 94.9 FM. And let's go north of the bridge to Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach, your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination, great facilities, great people, great location. What more do you need? I mean, it's right there at the gateway to Saginaw Bay. The ramps are open. The full-service marine shop is cranking, getting boats ready for the season, getting boats out of storage. If you're looking for a base of operations for Saginaw Bay, the marina and the campground, absolutely beautiful. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Just found out, too, that Linwood Beach will be the spot where we have our third annual Angler Quest Owners Tournament this summer coming up. I think it's Saturday, July 27th. Saturday, July 27th. So if you are an AQ owner, put that date on your calendar. linwoodbeachmarina.com. Right now I'm talking with Paul Phillips. His company is globalprecisiongroupllc.com, globalprecisiongroupllc.com. Paul is known literally, and this is not an exaggeration, and he is a Michigan guy. I've known him for a long time, but he is known throughout the world as one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world. But what you might not know is Paul is also an avid outdoorsman. He's an avid hunter. Now, Paul, you have spent the last several years pushing the limits and promoting extreme long-range shooting, but my sense is that maybe you're, I don't want to say taking a different direction, but you're adding something new to your portfolio. You want to do something for hunters, right, Paul?
That's correct, Mike. I've been traveling all over the world competing and training military, law enforcement, and competitive shooters. I'm retired. I'm supposed to be at home, doing things with my family. So I'm trying to circle back and, try to do some good for the Michigan hunters and people that want to learn how to utilize their kits, whatever that be. We want to learn the process. The process that I train military snipers and law enforcement snipers and competitive shooters, it's the same process in which a Michigan hunter would use. Learning the capabilities of a rifle, learning the accuracy, learning the basic fundamentals of marksmanship, and learning the equipment that we have. Ranging the animal, judging the wind and spotting and communication. Once you learn that process, you can take it whatever direction you want to go, and maybe expand your distances and your level of accuracy. And, if you want to get different types of equipment, at least you understand the process and how to employ it, and so we're doing a course on May 11th and June 15th at Two Hats Ranch in Big Rapids, Michigan. And this is a day course. You can find the advertisements on my social media or yourself. It's going to be $600 for the day, and that includes the range fees, a lunch, and instruction. And basically, I'm going to run through my process, how I would in a sniper's course, whether military, law enforcement, or a competitive shooter, And at the end of the day, we're going to do a confidence course, take you through a little, all these targets in the woods, and then see if you can employ what you learned for the day. But I think it's going to be really beneficial for the Michigan hunters, for the people who want to take it a step further, to give them a little bit better percentage chance of, making those longer shots and making those accurate shots at whatever distance they're going to be hunting to bag that big buck.
So this is a day of hands-on training with you, Paul Phillips.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool. That is very cool. Let's talk about some of the specifics. First of all, the first event is May 11th, Saturday, May 11th. Two Hats. Two Hats is a real nice hunt club, basically, isn't it?
It is. It's a hunt club. It's fairly new, and they have memberships to the public, and they have hunting available to the public. They also have some sporting shotgun.
Sporting clays.
Sporting clays. Yeah, they have sporting clays. They have hunting, and I believe they have a bow course too, if I remember correctly. But the biggest thing is they have the long range course and the confidence course, which basically you walk, you do all your training and stuff in a nice facility, and they have rooms available as well, and very nice facility. When I went over there to look at it, I was very impressed with the very clean, very new, well organized, very safe. It's all on private land. They got their act together over there.
So you are inviting people in, again, to spend a day with you. Do people bring their own? Are they learning how to get comfortable with their own guns, Paul? Is that what this is about?
Yes, I'd like to have them bring their own rifles. And but if not, I've had a few people call me and they don't have a rifle yet, so that's okay too. They can borrow my rifle and then also observe the instruction. But I prefer that if they have their own rifle, that's the whole part of it, is to learn how to use your rifle, your capabilities of your rifle, and some of the gear that's out there to become a better hunter.
Gotcha.
And have a better chance of making the longer shots.
Gotcha. So for an example, and I can't make it on the 11th, but I am going to get together with you over there. Me bringing my Brenton 350 Legend to your course to learn how to be as accurate and proficient with my gun in the Michigan woods or wherever I'm going to take it as I possibly can.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to know all the ballistics for your rifle, and you're going to have a better understanding of what kind of shots you can take, and learn how well you can do yourself with your gun and ammo. And then we're going to do a confidence course. We're going to make some shots, and we're going to stretch the legs just to see where you stand. That way, when you go hunting, you're going to absolutely know what your limitations are and what you feel comfortable, doing. And you might surprise yourself with, how far you can shoot that gun.
So what distance are we talking about, Paul? I mean, you're not making 4-mile shots there, but
No.
What's the ultimate goal? What's the maximum you're going to shoot at this class?
Well, it's 1,000-yard range.
Okay.
So as long as you have a rifle, 308, 30-06, 6.5 Creedmoor, if you have those type of rifles, no, not a problem going up to 1,000 yards. But if you're, if you're looking at a, 350 Legend or 450 Bushmaster down south guns, we'll probably be inside of 300 with those, But they're fully capable of reaching out past 100 for sure, But it's just understanding the process of how to gauge it, how to utilize your elevation and windage to make good sound shots at those longer ranges.
So who is this course designed for, Paul?
It can be designed for the beginner all the way up to an expert. I mean, I'm going to take whoever comes, I'm going to take where they're at, and then we're going to work up, right? So it's going to be the process, though. I'm going to take everybody through the process that I would normally do at any competition or any type of hunt that I go on. It's the same process of going through the process of understanding your equipment and everything about it and getting the most out of the hunt.
I think this is pretty exciting. I love the concept. You as a Michigan hunter or you as a hunter bring in your hunting rifle, your setup, your scope, everything, your ammo, and just learn from Paul Phillips how to be the best with that rifle that you possibly can be.
Absolutely. And I'll have some other stuff there too to do demos and kind of show people the capabilities of other things, just in case, if they want to upgrade or change. If not,
Sure.
That's fine too. But at least they know their own capabilities and their rifle's capabilities and what their ammunition probably is best suited for.
And you mentioned the word confidence a couple of times. I like this a lot. To be able to go out in the woods in the fall and have a big doe or the buck or whatever you're after out there at a given distance. I've been in a situation before where I was hinky to take that shot because I just didn't know.
Exactly.
But to have that confidence of either yes or no, that means a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, once you train and you understand the capabilities of your rifle and understand the process of how to make that good shot at whatever range and whatever wind, inclination, whatever the situation may be, once you do that a few times and gain confidence, then when you go hunting, it's just a matter of seeing the animal and going through the process and having the confidence to make the shot.
So we're bringing our own ammo, obviously. Bring whatever ammo your gun takes,
whatever gear that you hunt with, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Like I had a call the other day, and then we'll have a rangefinder. I said, bring your rangefinder, bring your binos, bring your whatever you go hunting with. That's what I'd like you to bring, and then we'll talk about all the equipment and gear, and we'll go through the whole process with everybody and how to employ it.
And again, this first class is Saturday, May 11th at Two Hats Ranch. That's on 12 Mile Road around Big Rapids, my old stomping ground. I went to school over there at Ferris. Love that part of the state. Details are at gpgtraining.com, gpgtraining.com. You have posted flyers. I have posted flyers online, and I will do more about that. But I think, Paul, this is a pretty unique opportunity. And there are long-range shooting classes being held in Michigan, but I don't know. This one is, I think, unique in that it is designed primarily for hunters, right?
It is, yes. But just know this. I mean, the same process that I teach to snipers and SWAT teams, military snipers, and competitive shooters. It's the same process, meaning that the same techniques they use is a hunter will use. Once you understand the range and the ballistics and wind and data, you can make the shot no matter what the situation is. So if it's somebody that's a military sniper or a law enforcement sniper or a competitive shooter, they also can benefit from this as well. But then obviously we're going to have, in the future, I want to set up some more advanced courses to take it a step further. Obviously this is one day. I can't do a 2-week sniper course in one day.
Right.
So this is going to be learning the process and, getting them more comfortable. And if it's something they want to pursue later on with more advanced stuff, we can do that.
I think it's a great way to test the water. I think there are a lot of people across this state who want to become more proficient with their hunting tools, and I think this is a great option to let them do that. Paul Phillips, I appreciate you, letting us know about this. I will promote it on my social media outlets. We'll talk about it again on the air. The website, gpgtraining.com, gpgtraining.com. Thank you, Paul.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah,
the best
quick
way to get a hold of me is my phone number. So.
All right. 734-347-8024. I hate giving out phone numbers on the air, though. That number is on the flyer, on Paul's social media outlets, on mine as well. I'll give it again, though, 734-347-8024. We'll take a break. When we come back, Jeanie Canel of Jay Sporting Goods talking more about guns, but this time turkey guns, turkey shotguns, what to use and how to pattern them after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. And you can hear us in Marquette, north of the bridge, Marquette, WDMJ, 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and then snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern in literally like a minute. Michigan-based, family-owned, you know I love that. Plus, if you need big sizes, I'm talking like 4, 5, 6X, VersaSkins can take care of you. Or if you're a saddle hunter, you know how hot saddle hunting is these days. Well, VersaSkins makes jackets specifically for saddle hunters. Where do you find them? You find them on the website versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Just change your skin for the season you're in, versaskins.com. Well, I told you that after the break we were going to talk with Jeanie Canel of Jay Sporting Goods, and guess what? We are. Gina, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good, Mike.
Gina, you are the manager of the gun department at Jay's Clare store, and I got to believe, well, I think it's always busy back in the gun department. I don't care when I get back there. You guys are always busy.
Yep, we've been staying steady, and that's a good thing. I like to see that.
Also, I don't know what kind of magic you pulled, but it was 3 weeks to the day from the time I came to Jay's and I filled out the kiosk, the information at the suppressor kiosk. Gina, as you know, the ATF approved my suppressor paperwork, my application, in 3 weeks. What did you do?
It wasn't me, Mike. I'd like to say it was.
You should take credit for it anyway.
I know it. I think there's a lot of things going on with the ATF, and they're moving into a new program, perhaps. So anybody that got in that window when they switched over, I'm to understand, have a much quicker turnaround. The unfortunate part is for those that were prior to that are still lagging. So we've seen the same thing. It's been good. So we're hoping to see that continue and be a little less stressful for all of us, I think, if we could see those turnaround times.
No, that was great. That was great.
Yeah.
But let's change the focus of our conversation here. Turkey season just around the corner. Let's talk about turkey shotguns. Do you find that most of your customers, do they just use the shotgun that they have laying around the house and they try to tweak that and modify that to be their turkey gun, or are people buying guns specifically for turkey hunting?
Actually, it's funny because this year I've seen more people looking at new guns, maybe to update what they have laying around the house. And oddly enough, going to smaller gauges. I had a guy looking for a 410 the other day, which I thought was kind of unique. And the thing of it is, we have that. We have 410s. We have 28 gauge. We have 20. We have 12. So we have that ability to fit somebody into those gauges if they're looking to upgrade this year. So
wow.
Mossberg came out. Yeah, Mossberg came out with an over and under this year, which is, again, kind of different, with 20-inch barrels. So not a lot of flash when you're swinging, that barrel around. So there's some new stuff out there.
Well, let's not talk too much about the smaller gauges, because actually that's the topic of discussion in my second segment. So you're reading my mind here. But let's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. You had no idea I was gonna bring that up. So. Well, all right, then let's talk about patterning then, because no matter what gun you get, you got to pattern the thing. And I think when I was turkey hunting with a shotgun, I never patterned it. But it's important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, it's a little bit time intensive, if you will. But if you're prepared when you go, to the range or in your backyard, wherever you want to do it, if you're prepared with different loads, choke tubes, you can mess around with somewhat. They do offer some aftermarket choke tubes that can benefit that, but they make a nice turkey patterning target that runs $2, and it's got the turkey head in a big circle, and it basically lays it right out for you, how many yards you should be shooting and how many pellets, and you just kind of write it down on this target. Gives you the ability to go back and look at what your patterning was, and from there you can pick your ammo that you that you like that did the best, performed the best for you out of your gun.
So what distance should we, is there a maximum distance we should be trying to get our guns dialed into?
Well, I think if you really want to start at a safe point, I would think 30 to 35 yards would be a safe starting point. But beyond that, whatever the comfort of the shooter is, at that point you can take a turkey at the yardage that you're comfortable with.
Gotcha. We're talking with Jeanie Canel of Jay Sporting Goods, jaysportinggoods.com. We got to take a break here, but when we come back, we will get to the topic that Gina brought up about using a smaller gauge gun. That, in fact, is the topic of this week's Ask Avery segment. I had a guy send me an email and said, look, it hurts me to shoot this 12 gauge anymore. Are there options? Well, Gina says there are, and Gina would know because she's the manager of the gun department at Jay's Claire store. jaysportinggoods.com, jaysportinggoods.com. By the way, you heard Bill Hahn of Jay's in our first hour. Use the promo code Avery 424 Avery 424 and get a Wraith 270 see-through ground blind at Jay's for $149.99. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works, this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. The best way to get your questions to me is to send me an email. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's what Jeff Carter did. Excuse me. He sent me an email. He says, hey, Mike, I've always used a 12 gauge for turkey hunting, but as I get older, I don't like the recoil from that gun. What do you think of using a 20 gauge or even a 410? Those smaller guns are easier to shoot, but do they pack enough punch to put down a bird at a reasonable distance? Well, I'm not the guy to ask because of all the turkeys I've taken, only I think maybe 2 of them have been with a shotgun. The rest have been with a bow. But I know people. In fact, I know Jeanie Canel of Jay Sporting Goods. She's the manager of the gun department at Jay's Claire store, and she knows turkey shotguns inside and out. So, Gina, you didn't even know I was going to ask this question, and you started to answer it earlier. So let's follow up on this. Are we locked into just a 12 gauge for turkey hunting these days?
Not anymore, Mike. There's opportunity out there for 410 and 20 and 28. So I think to answer the question is, can you safely and take a turkey with one of those? Absolutely. I think it's gonna come down to patterning for sure, especially with some of the lighter gauge guns. You're going to want to pattern it and see, what yardage you're holding that pattern at that's going to be in that kill zone. So I think that's going to be key. And ammo, ammo is going to be a factor too. There's different types of ammo out there. Some of them pack a bigger punch than the others. So I think that's going to be crucial as well. But absolutely, like I said, Mossberg came out with a 20 gauge and an over and under with a 20-inch barrels on it. So that would be an option. And in the 410, kind of limited in them. We see more single shots in those. But Stevens has the 301 out in a 410, so that's an option as well. So there's some semi-automatic 28 gauges out there by Mossberg. So, again, the options are there. I
can't imagine. Well, for one thing, I think it'd be cool to walk into the turkey woods with a 410. But so there must be specific turkey loads in that 410, right? You're not just out there shooting, number 6s or something.
Right. No, there's turkey loads for it. And, with some of the ammo that we have, and we are setting good on turkey loads this year. I can say that confidently. So I do like to see that. And then Migra came out with a couple of new loads for 12 and 20, so those options are there. Now, turkey loads, you have to keep in mind, you're usually buying 5 to a box, so it can get a little pricey when you're first starting out and doing that patterning process and seeing what works best. But all in all, this year we're setting on some good quantity of turkey ammo. So.
Isn't that nice to be able to say that?
It is. Yep. Yeah, I think we're heading into several of our seasons in a good spot right now.
So how much of a difference can it make if you're say a 20 gauge? If you've got a 3-inch Magnum from one company versus a 3-inch Magnum from another, are you actually going to see, Gina, a difference in the way those pattern?
You can, absolutely. And you know, I don't have probably the answer that everybody would agree on, but I've seen it happen when you go to the range with 2 identical setups and you get 2 different outcomes. So, yeah, you know, it can play a factor in that. Ammo will play a factor in it. Choke tubes will play a factor in it. You know, and maybe the year of the firearm itself, synthetic stock versus wood stock. There's just a lot of variables, and like I say, I don't know how all that, the mechanics of some of that, you know, metallurgy and stuff like that plays into it, but I've definitely seen it sitting side by side at the range. This happened many years ago with Weatherby Rifle, and a guy wanted 2 identical setups, and we got one gun to shoot fine. I mean, it took us, you know, matter of setting down, and, you know, we had it within 10 minutes, and the other one took us 3 days.
You mentioned choke tubes. Of course, the goal is to keep a nice tight pattern. But can you actually over choke a gun? Can you put so much pressure on it that the spread actually opens up?
I'm not 100% sure on that, Mike. I think that you know, if you aren't using the right choke for the ammo and the gun, and of course the species that you're seeking, you can have some complications. But you know, Jebs makes some really nice choke tubes. I was looking at them the other day, and some of them nowadays will be extended, and they're also ported. So there's a lot they're doing there again with, you know, the technology behind it that can add to, or in some cases it doesn't add anything to what you're trying to accomplish. So we do have a good lineup of choke tubes as well out there.
Gina?
The other thing you can do go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm actually out of time, so maybe this is a conversation for a future topics for a future conversation. But Gina, always a pleasure. I got to let you go. Jeanie Canel, the manager of the gun department at Jay Sporting Goods, jaysportinggoods.com, jaysportinggoods.com, as you're getting ready for the springtime turkey season. Jay Sporting Goods is your source. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Al Stewart and Dixie Dave in hour 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. And welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Of course, there is a podcast version of the show available if you can't listen on your local radio station. I don't care how you're hearing my voice, though. It doesn't matter to me, whether it's the radio show, the broadcast version, the podcast, whatever. The fact that you can hear my voice, the fact that you are listening does mean a lot to me. I would not have been able to do this as long as I have without help. Number one, help from above, help from God, help from my advertising partners, help from you, the listener, because there are a lot of different things you could be doing right now. There is so much media out there these days. We are in a media overload. You've got podcasts, you've got TV, you've got cable, you've got social media, you got radio. I mean, so many things coming at you. So the fact that you're sharing part of your weekend, if you're listening to the broadcast version of the show with me, it does mean a lot. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I also would not be able to do this show without expert guests. Because as I've told you so many times, I'm not an expert in anything. I'm not an expert hunter. I'm not an expert angler. I'm not even an expert at radio. But because I've been doing this for a while, I know who to go to. I have friends who are indeed experts. Part of the theme of this week's show has been getting ready for turkey season because we are now less than a month away from our Michigan turkey season kicking off. I am so excited about it. I have learned advice on turkey hunting from some of the best out there, including Al Stewart. Al is known across the country as a turkey hunting expert. He spent many, many years in the Michigan DNR as an upland game bird specialist, but he spent his entire life as an upland game bird hunter. These days, Al finds himself over at Hillsdale College and head of their at the head of their Nimrod Society. We'll talk more about that. Al Stewart, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, and it's always excellent to be able to talk with you, Mike. It's always fun to reminisce about the things we've done in the past and, you know, the hope we have for the future.
That's a good way of putting that, Al. I appreciate that. Before we talk about turkey hunting, let's talk about, you know, you being at Hillsdale now and this Nimrod Society. The more research I do on the Nimrod Society, the more impressed I am.
Yeah, it's a one-of-a-kind program. So I'm the director of the Nimrod Education Center there at Hillsdale College. And my job in the elevator talk is to inform the public about the contributions that hunters, anglers, and shooters make to conservation. Who pays for conservation? And it's an outstanding place to be. Like you said, I was the upland game bird specialist with the Michigan DNR. I retired after 50 years. And,
50 years.
I thought that was the best job in the world, but I failed at retirement. And the last couple of years I've been at Hillsdale College, and it's even a better job than I had before. So, you know, the sun is shining on me.
Oh, that's wonderful. When I hear you talk about the role in that, the goal in it, talking about the role of hunters and anglers, it reminds me of the role of the Michigan Wildlife Council. Similar goals.
Exactly. And in fact, one of the goals of my program is to assist in trying to establish wildlife councils, not only that are here in Michigan and Colorado, but to establish councils like that throughout the country. And in fact, last Sunday night, had dinner with some folks that were also kind of focused on that same mission, and some directors that help make those decisions for the future. So we're laying down the groundwork. You know, like the core of my mission and overlapping into the Wildlife Council's part is, you know, to work to protect the right to hunt and fish for all people. So, and that's really important, and that's very important right now, because there are people who are trying to take that right, that heritage, away from people throughout the country.
Well, and even it can be argued, Al, here in Michigan, and now that you're not in the DNR anymore, maybe I can ask you this question. You know, we've got an NRC right now who just made a big decision on coyote hunting that appeared to go against sound scientific wildlife management practices. Is this a slippery slope? Are we starting to see things here in Michigan we've seen in some of the western states?
Well, you know, that's what MUCC was established for, Michigan United Conservation Clubs, to oversee, you know, those rules and regulations. And, you know, the Natural Resources Commission has the legislative right to a responsibility, actually, to determine the method and manner of take. The biologists, the resource people within the DNR, their responsibility is to provide the science to the Natural Resources Commission, the biological science, and then the commission takes that and adds in the social science to that. So, again, it's where groups like Michigan Eye Conservation Clubs, in particular, have the ability to oversee, monitor, and help to make sure the fair and sound decisions are being made. So, the one thing I did learn working in the DNR is that there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions, and they all think their opinion is the most pertinent.
I guess that's true of any group, isn't it, Al?
Well, it is, but I think in the natural resource field, particularly in hunting, there's a lot of people who have strong feelings, but also strong experience. And that's something I learned as a wildlife biologist. Hey, I can't be everywhere all the time and see all these things, but there are people, and you know them as well, that they spend 24/7 in the woods only looking at deer or only looking at rough grouse. I mean, that's just their life, their focus. And I can't do that every day. I hope to, glean some of that, but I would go to individuals like that and talk to them because I valued their opinion, because what they saw, whether it was, what was written in a science book or not, it's what they saw, and they saw it enough to be, hometown authorities, I guess, not a PhD authority, but somebody who grassroots, the school of hard knocks, as they say. And that's value. So you have to listen to everybody when they make these decisions. And then something, this is sort of off the cuff type of talk, but in trying to make these harder decisions, it's in the wildlife field, many times nobody's really wrong. It's just a different approach to it, And so I figured in some of the really controversial ones, I figured that if half the people were really upset with me because I made this decision and the other half were kind of happy with me because we helped make this decision, that was probably the right spot. It wasn't good for everybody, but, when you have somebody that's really against it and they're happy, that you may have swung the pendulum too far one way. So, that's a very, very simplified way of, looking at it.
Isn't it interesting, though, that in our world today, we even have to be concerned about protecting our ability to hunt and fish? I mean, when I was a kid growing up on the west side of the state, I never thought it would be like this, because that's what my whole world revolved around, was hunting and fishing and this whole outdoor lifestyle. And there are still, a lot of people in our state who feel that way. But as you said in the beginning of the conversation, Al, we've got a significant percentage of people out there these days who not only don't live that way of life, but they want to take our way of life away from us. It's become a real threat.
Well, yeah, and sadly, there's a strong heritage, a strong tradition. I mean, Michigan, the Great Lakes were formed on these hunting and fishing, gathering sides of it, from the very beginning. And we have the ability, the responsibility to continue on, that heritage, that, outdoor tradition that's been established. But I think it's also, it's how we practice the virtues of being a free people, that we have and maintain those options. So that's where Nimrod Education Center comes in. That's where we're really trying to move forward to, protect these rights, to highlight the information about who pays for conservation and stay focused on how that's done. So we as sportsmen have, taken animal species of scarcity and made them animals of abundance. And wild turkeys are the classic example.
And let's talk more about that, Al, after the break. We're talking with Al Stewart of the Nimrod Society, nimrodsociety.org. He's at Hillsdale College, hillsdale.edu. We got to take a break here at the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll talk a little turkey with Al Stewart, a guy who knows turkey hunting inside and out. That's coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan. And as long as I've been doing this show, you think I'd be ready to come back out of a break. Let me start my clock. Boom. Okay. I'm in here with Jonathan Dent. John's a young guy. His brain is much, much sharper than mine. And he usually is supposed to remind me, hey, we're going to get ready to go on the air. But we were working on something else. Anyway, this segment of Outdoor Magazine, or you can hear the Outdoor Magazine radio show in Holland on WHTC 1450 AM 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. And you can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based, family-owned Killer Food Plots. Getting to be that time, isn't it? If you want to improve your property, if you want to improve the hunting on your property, or if you just want to take care of the wildlife on your property, food plots are a great way to go. And I recommend Michigan-based, family-owned Killer Food Plots. Check them out online at killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. You can see the different type of seeds they have. You can see the different type of service they provide. And Rich Krzan of Killer Food Plots, a great guy to work with. killerfoodplots.com. Speaking of great guys, right now I'm talking with Al Stewart. He spent 50 years as a wildlife biologist in the DNR, and then he said he failed at retirement. He took a new job as the director of the Nimrod Education Society over at Hillsdale, but still at heart, he is an outdoorsman and a hunter, and he is one of the best turkey hunters that I have ever talked with. Al, I appreciate your time this weekend. Have you been out? Have you been out to any of the southern states or western states hunting birds yet? Has your season started this year?
No, I haven't been turkey hunting yet at all, which is really unusual. But I've got a lot of little burners and little things on the burner that I'm working on. So I'm just waiting for the Michigan season to roll in and be able to get out there and do that. I didn't have a chance to share with you during the last segment, but one of the things that we're doing there at Hillsdale College is I'm co-teaching a class with Shelby LeBute, who's a lawyer, a class called Wildlife Law and Policy. And that's unique it's not being taught at any other school in the country. And we're bringing that forward to our students who will be in pre-law and policy making, because a lot of the decisions today in the wildlife world you're seeing are happening not through the biology or not through the biologists, but through the courts. So you need good lawyers who understand, or judges who understand conservation law. And so that's what we're teaching at the front end, so that we can put these people, out into the world to help make great decisions. And Hillsdale students are people that will be leaders in this country in the future. There's no question. And so that's some of the things that we're doing that's unique. I just wanted to touch bases with you on that. And then I've got some Nimrod fellows. I have 10 of those that work closely with me to actually help expand and work on this mission, to protect the right to hunt and fish in this country.
There are few goals more lofty, in my opinion, than protecting hunting and fishing. I got to go back, though. You mentioned a young lawyer named Shelby. I think I know her. Did she go to MSU Law School?
She did, yes.
Okay.
Yep, and she was actually a Glasson fellow intern when we had that program there with the College of Law. the Health
Okay, I think I'm making a connection here. I don't recognize the last name, but I think I know her. I know her dad very well, and I think she invited me to speak at MSU School of Law when she was down there. So how cool is that?
She probably did. She just got married. She was Shelby DeVeese.
Okay, Shelby DeVeese. That's how I know her, as Shelby DeVeese. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So
good deal.
She's one of the top. She's one of the top leaders in this country as a lawyer, helping to share this message from throughout the country. And that's why I'm fortunate to be able to co-teach this class with her, have her come and teach at Hillsdale. It's a great addition to the Hillsdale curriculum.
Oh, how cool is that? How is it that this little private school in Michigan becomes such a player on the national scene, not just with Nimrod, but with the shooting sports, and you've got the shooting center down there? What is it about Hillsdale that makes you guys so special?
Well, when Hillsdale decides to do something, they do it right. That's really the model, the basis behind it. And, they take no state or federal dollars. So they're very focused on merit production or merit movement to provide an outstanding, education to students. It's amazing. I've worked very closely with Michigan State University in the past as well. And it's just fun to work with these students at Hillsdale because they're kind of like the valedictorian of every class. I mean, those are the students that are there. And what I also like is Dr. Arndt, the president, what he says is, hey, we teach education, but every college teaches education. What we teach that other schools don't is character, and character is what makes the person. And that's it in a nutshell.
Oh, that sounds very cool. Very cool. And boy, my original reason for talking with you this weekend was to talk turkey, but when we start talking about these other issues that are in some ways just so important these days, I feel like we could spend 3 hours on that. But I got to go back to turkey hunting, all right? Because I promised people I was going to talk to Al Stewart about turkey hunting. So let's go back to some basics, Al. With this season coming up, what is your advice for new turkey hunters here in Michigan? How to have a successful hunt? And a success doesn't necessarily even mean taking a bird, but what's your advice for turkey hunters this spring?
Well, as you and I have talked before, the part about turkey hunting is just being out there and hearing a bird gobble. To me, it's really nice to be able to put one in your bag. And I say that with all seriousness. I've killed enough turkey, and I love to do that. But really good turkey hunters I know get as much satisfaction out of taking someone who's never gone before than harvesting a bird themselves. And so what's the trick? How do you do it? It's like so much other hunting. The key part is do some scouting. Don't just go out there the opening day and say, there's got to be a turkey somewhere in this woods. Put some thought in, put a little time into it. I like when I hunt out of state, I've had the chance to hunt out of state a lot through the years and go to places that I'm going in cold. I have no idea. So what I usually do is look at a map. I try to find a river bottom or a creek bottom or a wetland of some sort. I usually look for a place that has like an escarpment or, an edge to that stream system that has maybe some trees on it. Turkeys seem to like to be near water, and they seem to like to have that little escarpment, to sit on trees along that edge. So, if I'm going in blindfolded, that's the type of thing I'm looking for. And then I try to go out and scout there when I'm there. Usually I have 3 to 4 days to try to harvest a bird when I'm out of state. And the first day is kind of a guess of where you might find birds, and then after that you start to key into it a bit. You want to go out first thing in the morning, that half hour before sunrise, and listen for the turkeys to gobble. That's a great time of the morning to be out there, because you just, that's the part of turkey, you see the world come alive before you. And I don't think there's anything grander than that. You see the sunrise, you hear the owls hooting, you hear the cardinals starting to sing, and you hear that gobble, out there. and that's, once you hear that gobble, at this point, now you're buying hope. You believe you can call that turkey into you. But hearing that gobble, just even today, really, it almost it makes my heart really beat fast. Just hearing the gobble. So those are some of the early techniques I use. Obviously you can drive around and look and see where you can see birds during the day. And now that we've shifted wild turkeys from a species of scarcity to an animal abundance, you can see turkeys in a lot of places. But listening to them in the morning is one of the main things that I use.
It's one of the. You got me going there when you talked about sitting out there watching the world come awake, hearing that first gobble. There's nothing like it, Al. It's the interaction with the critter, I think, that drives me crazy, is the fact that you can call to them and they'll call back. Now, granted, I know you can call too much and you can screw up your hunt and everything else, but it's that I have never hunted personally anything else that you can have that kind of interaction with, and that can be so frustrating. I mean, the birds can appear to be so dumb when you're driving home. You got to stop and let them cross the road, but they can be such a challenge when you're hunting them. It's like nothing else I've ever hunted before.
Yeah, no question. And I think what it does is it ties in the best of woodsmanship, kind of the deer hunting side of that, where you know the lay of the land, you kind of know the movements of animals, you're looking for sign on the ground. And then it meshes that with duck hunting, where, you call to the duck, the duck responds, you kind of, go back and forth. And, when the magic works, they fly around and drop into your decoys. And turkeys are, to me, a lot like that. You're trying to understand what they're saying, and you're trying to, tell them, hey, it's all right to come in so I can shoot you.
Yeah, that's basically what it boils down to. Yep. Hey, real quick before I let you go, I think the resurgence or the establishment of turkeys in Michigan are one of the greatest conservation success stories I've seen in my life. But there is a concern here in Michigan, and I think nationwide, that turkey numbers are down for whatever reason. Do we have a handle on that yet?
No, there's it's not just in Michigan, and it's not like they're endangered or anything. It's just we're seeing some trends nationally with eastern turkeys in particular, this downward trend, and not sure why that is really. There's some research studies going on, but we'll check it out.
All right, Al, appreciate your time. Good luck to you. Always a pleasure, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, sir.
Al Stewart, NimrodSociety.org, NimrodSociety.org. He's over at Hillsdale, hillsdale.edu. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. A few more things I want to talk about before we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us just down the coast in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM and jump over to the other side of the state, WSGW 790 AM 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now for these 3 hours, this small corner of the building I'm calling the Outdoor Magazine Studio. And so far, nobody's fought me on it. I'm here with Jonathan Dent. Jonathan was doing a really good job on the show until that last break when he could see that I was preoccupied and he didn't go, hey, you got a minute, you got 30 seconds, you got 15. He didn't do that. And as a result, because I wasn't paying attention, I wasn't ready. So, John, I can't take that blame myself. I got to put it off on somebody else, okay? So, no, I'm just kidding you. John does a great job. And I appreciate his help in making the Outdoor Magazine Show possible. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's our nature and your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. And this is the time Man, if you got something you want to get done this spring, get in touch with the folks at Reader right now. The website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. They do a great job with maintenance. They do a great job with landscaping. I mean, if you want to put in a backyard patio, if you want to put in a backyard grill, a backyard kitchen, the folks at Reader can take care of it. Or if you're just happy with the way your lawn and property looks and you just want to maintain it, the folks from Reader can do that as well. Your primary residence, your vacation home, let the folks there know what you need, and they can do the job. I will promise you that. ReaderLandscaping.com. Enjoyed that conversation with Al Stewart. I also found it very interesting when he was talking about this lawyer, Shelby, that he was teaching that class with. My brain started to go ding, 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 ding. I know what this is about. Shelby, her name used to be DeVeast, is the daughter of a good friend of mine, Scott DeVeast, who actually used to be one of my pro staffers when I had an Outdoor Magazine TV show. Shelby DeVeast, when she was at MSU School of Law, and actually she was there when my daughter Shelby was there. She was a year behind my daughter. She invited me down to speak to some law classes. So isn't that interesting that she's now out in the world and doing such a great job, and she's fighting for our rights as hunters and anglers. I appreciate that. So Shelby, thank you. And Scott, congrats on the marriage of Shelby, and I'm glad she's doing so well. Okay, when Al was talking about turkey hunting, man, that got me going. That is, he nailed it. When you are out there watching the world wake up and you hear the birds start to chirp and then you hear that gobble, there's nothing like turkey hunting. There's nothing like turkey hunting. If you have not done it, I would strongly encourage you to check out turkey hunting. It's very, very rewarding. It can be very challenging, but it's also a lot of fun. Wow, what's going on out there, John? Little noise in the hallway. Hey, a couple of things to remind you about, too. We had Bill Hahn of Jay Sporting Goods on earlier in the show. He was telling about a new promo with me, Jay's, and Primal Outdoors. The Wraith 270 see-through ground blind that I am such a big fan of it. I use it for turkey hunting. I use it for bear hunting. I use it for deer hunting. It is a see-through ground blind that when it first came out was like $270, which was a good deal at that price. These days, you can get a Wraith 270 see-through ground blind from Jay Sporting Goods if you use the promo code Avery 424. That's Avery 424. You can get it at the stores, their Claire store and their Gaylord store. When you get to the checkout, use the promo code Avery 424. Just say, hey, I want the Avery promo code. I want the Avery discount. Or if you get it online at jsportinggoods.com, that's jsportinggoods.com, and use the promo code Avery424, you can get that blind for less than $150. The actual price, $149.99. That's a heck of a price on that blind. I will be out there in my Wraith 270. In fact, I'll have a couple of them. I'll have several of them set up as we get ready for this springtime turkey season. Speaking of promo codes, Michigan brand. If you go to the website michiganbrand.net, that's michiganbrand.net, and use the promo code Mike20, you can get 20% off anything on your order. Another promo code, go to rapidriverknifeworks.us. Use the promo code Avery10. You can get 10% off your Rapid River knife. Or if you go to the store, just say, I want the Avery discount. And, of course, this latest one, the Jay's Primal Wraith 270 ground blind for Avery 424. Avery 424. Get one for $149.99. It doesn't get any better than that. See, I'm saving you money. I know you're saying I'm spending. No, I'm saving you money. And I'm happy to do that. Anyway, listen, I appreciate you joining us on this Easter weekend. I hope you have a blessed Easter weekend. I hope you get a chance to get some time and enjoy it with your family and your friends. Maybe you get a chance to get outdoors this weekend. Maybe not. But okay, I'm happy to be able to be here, and I wish you a blessed Easter weekend. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. Send me an email. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know what you think. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, who was our special guest chef last week at Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant. I bet he's still geeked about that, and maybe he will have a recipe for us. We'll take a break, wrap it up with Dixie Dave right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. Appreciate you being along with us. If you've been here before, you know what happens now. We wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a guy I've worked with for so very, very many years, and he's always a big addition to the show, and I look forward to these segments. David, welcome back. How are you?
Great, man. I love that music.
Have you heard it before? Hey, I don't want to get started with this week's recipe without first talking about Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack. You were our guest chef, and man, did you make people happy, Dave.
I was so pleased to be involved with that. It was just an amazing time, and I do thank everybody up there to the Lumberjack, Emil and Chef up there, too. They gave me a great helper, Jamie. It was great.
Well, and they're still talking about how cool it was for them to be able to work side by side with you, wild game chef Dixie Dave Minar. And, I like you, I appreciate Emil throwing out that offer there. And it seemed to work out so well. When I walked back in the kitchen and I saw you back there and you were working your butt off, but I could tell that you were having fun.
I did. I had a ball. I couldn't explain just how great it felt to be back in the kitchen after being not in the kitchen for over a year.
And your walleye New Orleans, well, first of all, you were going to make a blueberry dish, but what happened there?
Well, the company, the Kuiper, that makes the blueberry schnapps, they discontinued that unbeknownst to me. And so that's why it was one of the big sellers at the restaurant. We always was able to buy the blueberry schnapps, either through the liquor company or at Myers. Yeah.
So you had to go to Walleye New Orleans, which turned out to be a pretty good option.
Yep. We sold about 20 of them, I think.
Yeah, I know you sold them out fast, that's for sure.
Yeah, even your wife had one.
She did, yes, indeed. That's her favorite dish. All right, David, I think I left you enough time for a recipe. What have you got?
We got a baked stuffed walleye, so you're going to need, could be for bigger fish, so you need at least about, and this could be either for 3 or 4 people. And you want a couple of large boneless, skinless fillets, and they could be up to a pound and a half each. Whatever would fit on your baking sheet, you could go that way. And a half a cup of dried cranberries, a couple ounces of cranberry schnapps, which is an option, 1 medium onion diced very fine, 2 stalks of celery diced very fine, a couple of beaten up eggs, 2 cloves of garlic diced fine, a couple of tablespoons of cilantro chopped up as coarse as you like it, and a half a cup of walnuts. You could leave them whole or chop through them, which would be good. And now you could use either 2 cups of breadcrumbs or 2 cups of diced white bread or whole wheat bread, whatever you like. Dice it up nice and fine. A dash of white pepper, a dash of Worcestershire, and paprika at the top. And this is on page 33 in the cookbook, so if people wanted to follow along. So in a large bowl, you want to mix all of the ingredients together except for the fillet of fish. And what you're going to do is place 1 fillet. After you pin bone them, you're going to take and cut down on each side of the pin bones as far back as they go, about to the dorsal fin. On each side, real thin, so you just barely miss the bones, so you don't have any bones in this, so that would make it boneless. So you want to place 1 fillet on a greased baking sheet down to the skin side down, and you want to split the other one down a little bit more near the end. So you can almost cut it in half, except you're going to leave about 2 inches from the end on the top. So what you're going to do is place the dressing on the bottom fillet and then arrange the top one so that it's split open, kind of like, so you can see some of the dressing. And what you're going to do is drizzle with lemon, white wine, and some paprika, and you're going to bake it uncovered at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes, or until it's 180 degrees in the center, because there's